6 months ago, I was in a rut. I was coming out of a large national lockdown and looking ahead into the summer with zero plans, motivations, or goals. The idea of meeting up with friends made me anxious as I hadn't been able to do so for around 1.5 years. And even though travelling was opening up again, I still felt guilt at the idea of doing what was once against the rules not long ago. And so I let myself self-pity about it. That was until I realised it was fully in my control to get out of this rut. We all get into our feels sometimes, and that's perfectly normal. But it's important to get back on track in order to feel better. Here's how I did it. So in this video, I have 7 tips and 7 things in my daily life that made me get out of this rut and actually made me happier than ever. I think a lot of these are things that are not spoken about enough, and some of them may seem taboo, but I think they really need to be talked about. Number 1, getting more sleep. If you're a student like me, or maybe someone who works unsociable hours, you probably know what it feels like to be sleep deprived. It's awful. I remember just before COVID, I was working in the bar until 1 a.m, 2 a.m, and then I was going to the library, buying a Red Bull and studying because it was the only time I had to write my essays that were due. And it absolutely destroyed me. And by the end of it, I felt like I was a walking zombie who was addicted to caffeine. And so when I found myself in this rut again this year, I decided one of the first things that needs to be fixed is my sleeping schedule. And it sounds super easy to do, but when you're in a rut, it's really easy to sleep in the morning and really easy to stay up late at night watching TikTok, YouTube shorts, Netflix, or just endlessly scrolling. And so it took me a while to get into a better routine, but I found a schedule that works for me perfectly. And the interesting thing about sleep is that not every adult needs the same amount of sleep, and not all of us are morning birds or night owls. So you really need to try out some schedules and realize what is best for you. If you're interested in sleep, I just recently listened to Lex Friedman's podcast with Matt Walker, the man who wrote How We Sleep, the famous book. And I found it really interesting, and I learned a lot about sleep and the importance of sleep on the body. And it made me realize how much we need to take care of our bodies with regards to our scheduling. Now, because I've been taking care of my sleep and I've been keeping it consistent, I find myself getting to sleep like this at night time, and I wake up a lot better and happier, and I feel like I have way more energy throughout the day. So really, it's something you just have to figure out. Now, if there's a super important party or a club night you want to go to, I'm not saying don't go to it because it's going to ruin your sleep schedule, but just try to think, is every night out really super necessary? If you're extremely tired, maybe you just need a night in to sleep. Number 2, eating healthier and more consistently. Trigger warning for anyone who struggles with eating habits. Here's the time code here. If you want to just skip this section, that's totally okay. For me, when I talk about eating healthier, I mean what makes me feel better. And again, this is something that is extremely individual, and you shouldn't just copy what I do because it might not work for you. Personally, what I found that's helped me feel healthy is staying on a mainly vegan diet, but still consuming meat when I go into restaurants as a way to get the nutrients I wouldn't have otherwise, and also scheduling my meal times a little bit in something we call intermittent fasting. And I do not mean I'm starving myself, I just mean I'm having a certain window of time where I'm going to eat, because it gives my stomach more time to digest, and it means I'm not having the stomach problems I once had. I'm not an expert nutritionist or dietitian, so really don't take my word for anything, but it extremely helped me. And if you want to know more about it, this week I've been listening to the Huberman Labs podcast called Effects on Fasting and Time Restricted Eating on Fat Loss and Health. It's episode 41. Again, I'm going to link it down below. This was extremely interesting to listen to. I learned so much. He is an incredibly intelligent guy. He's a scientist himself and researcher, and so he knows what he's talking about. And so, since fixing my eating schedule and eating habits, I have felt so much healthier, which has really impacted how I feel throughout the day. And just to add, sometimes eating healthy means having a little bit of chocolate at night with a cup of chamomile tea, at least for me. And so I do not mean I'm only eating extremely healthy foods all the time, but I'm trying to keep most of my diet with the least amount of added sugar and dairy that I can. And that's what works for me. Number 3, consuming good content. What do I mean by good content? I mean something a little bit more educational, whether it's a documentary or book or a podcast, something that's a bit more produced and you're going to learn something from. I would never say that we shouldn't watch any content and it's a time waster, because I'm personally a visual learner, and so for me, I love Netflix documentaries and I love listening to podcasts, but I would also say reading is a great way as well to consume content and learn. The reason I felt this has improved my life is because I'm taking in way more information throughout the day, and useful information, not 15-second TikToks that I forget what I even watched 2 minutes ago. I mean something that you can really sit and use your brain for and ponder. So just like the podcasts I've already linked down below, things like these have really let me work my brain a bit more, and I think that's extremely important throughout the day, to use your brain in a way that's other than your work and normal day-to-day life. Personally, I would recommend listening to podcasts or reading books in something that's out with your degree area of field. For example, I'm a languages student, so I've been trying to listen to more scientific podcasts, and I found it really useful to use a different part of my brain and just keep me in check. Number 4, find your work-life balance. So due to the pandemic, for me, this was more about working more, because I wasn't having enough things to do for the day to really schedule me out, and I was finding myself bored and just resorting to watching YouTube videos on Netflix instead of being more productive throughout the day. And I'm no productive guru, and I wouldn't say I'm not going to pretend I am for the sake of this video, but I would say that trying to schedule your day out a little bit, as you can see in this video, is a huge theme, because it's what's made me personally thrive in life. But maybe for you, it's about going out more and socializing more, or working a little bit harder if you're someone that just stares at the clock waiting for it to turn to 5 p.m. Since finding my schedule in my work and social life balance, I've just felt more put together, and I feel like I'm having a balanced life, which is what you want at the end of the day. You know, I would relate this a little bit to my video from last week, which I'm going to link up here, that you have to go out yourself and create the social life balance that you want. If you want to go out twice a week and you so far haven't found anyone else who is going to come out with you, you need to make the first move yourself. You can't expect other people to do it. So watch that video if you need a little confidence boost or something. Number 5. Get rid of social media. Shut up, that's all I'm going to say. I have a whole series if you actually want to know anything about this. I have spoken about it too much on this channel, but yes, it has improved my life in many ways, so do with that what you will. Number 6, travel or explore your home country. Due to the ongoing pandemic, I don't exactly want to encourage people to travel too much, but you can absolutely explore your own home country. I know that during my first 18 years of living in Scotland, I didn't see anything other than Glasgow City. And so when I finally took the time to travel around the country, I was like, my country is beautiful. What the hell, I didn't realize that I lived in such a stunning country. And I think a lot of people would find joy in going to visit the nice places in their own city. But if possible, or you're someone like me who's currently living abroad, I think traveling a little bit in an unknown country is so good for the mind and body. It opens your mind to different cultures, hopefully a little bit of language. You can learn a lot of history. And I think being adventurous is so important after the past 1.5 years. So whatever that you are allowed to do and permitted to do according to your own government, you should 100% do, and don't be scared. If the government are telling you it's okay and you think you're ready to go out and explore the world, please do, don't hold back, because the pandemic is not always going to be around. And 7, the last one, having a consistent hobby. Again, once more, I'm talking about consistency here. But having something that you can do every day or every other day is extremely important for the self, and for having some self-identity, for having a purpose in life. It could be something as simple as cooking your dinner every night. I know a lot of people don't find the time to cook, and that's totally up to you. But if you can make it a hobby and keep healthy in that way, I think it's a great idea. I've actually found it's cheaper to cook yourself, but having any consistent hobby is going to help a lot with your mental health and getting you out of a rut, because you know that you have a task every day, whether that's reading, cooking, playing a musical instrument, writing something, doing YouTube like myself. Honestly, it's a game changer. You need to have some purpose in your life other than your work, and you should really strive to find your own passion. So that's my 7 things that got me out of a big rut this year. I hope that at least one of them has made you think, oh yeah, I don't do that and I think it would improve my life. As you know, I'm not an expert in anything. I'm a languages student, so what do I know about health and nutrition and well-being? This is just what's worked for me, and as I said before, I've linked some good podcasts that should help you potentially get out of a rut when you can learn a little bit of the science behind them, and I hope you enjoyed. So again, thank you very much for watching. Here are 2 videos I think you would like, and if not, that's totally okay. I hope you have a lovely day, stay safe, and bye-bye.